Welcome to Level Up. I'm Sherelle.
And I'm Danny, and this is the podcast where we talk about health, fitness, and mindset. We need to raise the standard. The bare minimum is being considered an achievement in this day and age.
Oh, it really is. Oh, when you said that, it's so true. And look, today's a little bit of tough love and a little bit of a rant and also a very important conversation, in my opinion. Like, honestly, I know obviously Danny and I are, like in the fitness space, a little bit more direct at times, but this is a message and a conversation that needs to be had.
Absolutely. Like, we encourage people and we do that for a job. We encourage people, but the amount of participation awards given out, the amount of unnecessary praise given out is ridiculous, and it's not helping anyone. You know, you and I grew up with parents who would catch us out if we did something wrong, or, they wouldn't hand out compliments so easily.
Yeah.
It's about continual refining and improvement. So I just struggle to come to terms with the fact in this day and age, people want a pat on the back for doing not much.
Jeez. Yeah, we're going to make sure that this comes across as really constructive and helpful because it's sounding a bit grim at the moment, but I promise we have some really important topics to cover up. I do want to start off, though. I was watching Sunrise the other day, right?
Oh.
And they were talking about obviously the employment crisis and everything at the moment of people can't get workers, right? It's really hard to find good employees or workers that want to do the work. And obviously there's a host of different reasons why that is. But they were talking about the stats of like interviews and like how interviews went. And this one stat that blew my mind, 17% of people that came to an interview that fall into the Gen Z bring their mum.
Oh.
Right? They bring their mum to the interview, right? And there was all these other stats about like how we naturally employ people these days and the work ethic are like in the backbone of a lot of different things. Because when we were a little bit younger, it was really hard to get a job, right? And now it's almost like people are employing people for the job rather than the other way around. And it sort of bleeds into this bigger conversation, which is what you were saying is like a lot of people are just like expecting a lot more these days and wanting to take an easier ride. And we're going to be bringing this back around to like exercise and movement and how it sort of, this whole mentality like sets us up for failure when we have to work hard to achieve anything.
But I'm confused. Why were people bringing their parents to an interview? How old were they?
Good question.
Oh, so
Good question.
just for moral
That was
support.
just one of the that was just one of the stats is like 17% bring their mum or a parent to the interview, which I was like, I was exactly the same. That's weird. Why is that even a thing?
If they're 14 and 9 months, like I don't
I don't even know.
No.
I don't know. Is it? Would you?
maybe in the car, if they drop you off, they stay in the car.
Stay in the car.
What's the mum going to do?
Imagine your mum in the Zoom waiting room.
It just wouldn't work. Well, they wouldn't even know what Zoom is.
No, honestly. But that was honestly one of the stats that come up on Sunrise when they were talking about like interview stats. Anyways, not really like right into what we were talking about.
No, it's still relevant. It's still alarming.
It's all relevant. It's all relevant. But one of the things we do want to chat about is like a little bit around, I guess, just like exercise and movement and like nutrition and training and sort of what it takes to make sure you can build a healthy, sustainable, well-rounded lifestyle that you enjoy, but also keeps you healthy and fit, right? Because the one thing I love about fitness is that you can't take shortcuts.
No.
Right? You can't get it easy or quick, or anything that is easy or quick is usually not sustainable, right, in the long run. So there has to be this, like, as you said, consistency is, what'd you say?
Can't remember, but it was really good.
Yeah, consistency is the minimum. Like,
what did I say? The bare minimum is being considered as an achievement.
Yes.
It's not impressive, guys.
No.
Like it's your basic survival. You don't need an award for that. I'm sorry, but like, come on.
Yeah. And what we really want to be able to, I guess, like unpack today is like the importance of just being able to, as I said, like build something that you can sustain, but also feel accomplished and know that you're like improving your health and fitness along the way, not just doing the bare minimum, like as you said, because we live in this like day and age where like, you know, a 5-minute walk or a 10-minute walk is classified as like your exercise for the day. And it's honestly, it's the reason why we end up in a lot of these situations. And as you said, like participation medals and, you know, sometimes I do feel like in some scenarios we get a pat on the back a little bit too easily, without having to work really hard to achieve something. And that reinforces that the easy, quick achievement of something is all we need to do when it's absolutely not.
No, not at all. And look, we're empathetic people and everyone's on their own journey, but I think a little bit of tough love is very important. And growing up, you know, we both played sports, we both studied and things. So in sport, I remember as a young girl, I would cry when I lost, and that's fine. But like, I didn't get a medal. I just went home with my tears and a lecture from my dad, and that was it. But it made me improve. It made me recognize that, hey, I can show up and give it my best and it still might not be good enough.
Yeah.
You know, it taught me those lessons from a really young age where fast forward now as an adult, I'm really good at taking on constructive feedback because I'm so used to it my whole life. You know, getting a paper back and you might fail a subject because you weren't good enough to meet that criteria. It hurts. You feel bad about yourself, but you look at the areas where you can improve and you come back and you try again. I think those lessons are being lost because the awards are being handed out to people that still weren't good enough. And some parents might, and it's fine because I hated my dad at the time for all the lectures. So I can understand why parents would just want to be the good cop and not have to go through that with their kid. And I don't have kids, so I don't know. But on the receiving end, I look back and I go, I'm so glad I had to go through those hard moments and the tears and knowing I wasn't good enough at that point, because now it's made me who I am. And I don't take it to heart when people give me feedback. I go, okay, it wasn't good enough. I was underprepared, or I did something wrong on the day. How can I improve? This way. And it becomes very objective rather than a big emotional mess that I see people fall into and then they just give up.
Yeah.
You know, I don't give up because I went through it. You learn how to be better and come back until you do win that award, or at least you gave it your best anyway, you know? So it's a skill that's being lost amongst people, which is being able to take on that feedback without just taking it so personally. And it starts from this stuff, like not getting premature awards. You know,
I
praise.
love that. You've just like put it so nicely in a nice little bow on top and just summarized it really well. But yeah, the one thing I do want to give a little bit of a disclaimer about as well is like, one, we're not talking to or about anyone that's like low socioeconomic status, like mental health concerns, physical disabilities, like all of those things are absolutely valid reasons.
Oh God, of course, Cheryl.
Yeah,
Shit.
like I just want to, I know I
it's
shouldn't
sad
even,
that we have to have that disclaimer.
I know, but I just do you know what I mean? Like
No,
it's
good,
sad,
thank you.
but we do have to have that conversation.
Someone will come into your comments and say something, because they already did. That's what started this topic.
Literally,
wasn't
this
it?
is what started the topic. But I do just want to say that because I feel like, of course, but that doesn't mean for the, you know, the rest of the world, or for like those that are fit, capable and able to push themselves or to, you know, work towards like a high standard for themselves, because that's different for everyone. Like what a standard is different for everyone, that we shouldn't be like having those tough love conversations. And as you said, like we've as a society, we've become a bit soft. I do want to say we've become a little bit soft, and not just from like a parenting perspective. Obviously, I don't have kids, but you know, even Luke, who worked in education for like a decade, like some of the stories he'd tell me of like what he couldn't do at schools, or like what he couldn't say to kids, or just I'm like, really,
like what? Like,
oh, just like I don't know, like things that are probably valid and things that are probably backed on, you know, a lot of research and just modern day things, but just like an example of like. Luke used to tell me how hard it would be to get parents on his side. So like if a kid was misbehaving in class and he would have to call up the parent or whatever it would be, the parent, some parents would often make excuses and be like, oh yeah, they've just had a bad day, or, you know, oh, well, it's just because the, you know, such and such is going on, or they feel this way, or, you know, they're actually trying really hard, or like, and Luke's like, sometimes we'd have to get like CTV footage showing a kid like bullying another kid for the parent to believe us, or whatever it might be. And I'm like, damn, if someone called my mum, I was petrified.
Yeah.
But Luke's like, if the parents don't have authority at home and the kids aren't scared of the parents in that way, doesn't matter. Like, it's like, I'm going to call your mum. That was the worst threat of my life.
Worst.
But Luke's like, if I said that to a kid that there wasn't that dynamic, they're like, do it.
Yeah.
Mum won't punish me.
Yeah.
in that sense. And it, as you said, it starts from there, right? It starts from there. And I don't have kids. I have no idea what it's like, blah, 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 all those things, of course. But it's this, we take these lessons and these concepts and we apply it to ourselves as adults, right? And we go, okay, like I need to make sure that I am raising the bar for myself from time to time. Or I am auditing what I'm capable of, and I am challenging myself, and I am questioning my work ethic, and I am demanding more from what I'm putting on the table. Like, I think that those are basics for a high achiever to have. I know the majority of the world doesn't, but we're not speaking to the majority of the world, right? We're speaking to people on how we can raise our own bar and also raise the bar of the people that are around us that are asking for that bar to be raised too.
Yeah, in a healthy way that's not going to spiral you into not feeling good enough and, issues, because obviously it can go both ways. But we are noticing as a whole, aside from the type A high achievers who will never feel good enough and they've got their own problems, most people are doing the bare minimum. And they want results and they're making excuses. If you're doing the bare minimum because that's all you can do and you know that, that's fine. But it's the people that are making excuses for not being where they want to be that are doing the bare minimum that we're giving a little bit of tough love to, because it has to feel hard and you are going to push yourself and it's going to be uncomfortable, but that's what it takes. Doesn't have to be forever, but if you set yourself a goal, you can't expect it to just fall into your lap. And you can't expect to say, oh, well, I tried a little bit. It's just not for me. Well, no, you didn't really try hard enough. And we're rewarding that as a society. Like, parents are being frowned upon for disciplining their kids. And obviously there are boundaries and things, but like, in my opinion, a little bit of discipline's okay in a way that's well received without crossing boundaries. But like, it's just not as common anymore. And people are being frowned upon for giving that constructive feedback, or even having staff members. We've got staff members, we can't all just be best friends and skip around all the time. Like, you still have to pull people up and it's very uncomfortable.
It is.
But otherwise it just wouldn't work. So
it's really
we
uncomfortable.
need to continue that.
Yeah. I put this on my story a couple of weeks ago and I got a lot of love about the fact that the majority of people will work really hard to avoid any form of uncomfortable conversation.
Yeah.
To the point where like they will ignore you, right? And we've experienced this in so many ways where it's like someone just ghosts you, whether it's a client, right, or a staff member, or like someone in the emails, they'll just leave you unseen, and it's just like we live in this society that allows and that thinks it's okay to just leave people unseen and not respond because they don't want to have hard conversations like this. They don't want to share their opinion. They don't want to be honest and transparent, right? And it's uncomfortable. These things all come back down to the exact same thing where it's like we need to lean in as a society and like encourage uncomfortable conversations and like be okay with people making mistakes and being like, yeah, it wasn't the right decision. That's okay. Do you know what I mean? Like, you aren't your mistake. You know what I mean? Like, that's okay. We need to lean in and encourage that so that these aren't uncomfortable all the time, right? Because we try to protect people so much. I guess it's what parents do. It's sort of like, oh, you don't want to see them uncomfortable or in pain. You want to protect them at all costs.
Yeah.
But we know, right, how much that sets us up for failure. Like, as you said, like, even though I know society's changed a lot and discipline is like frowned upon a little bit, it's like, how much did it hurt when your mum was like, I'm just really disappointed? Fuck, that hurt. Like, did you ever do something like that again to disappoint her? Never. But like, I just feel like we don't say those things anymore. We don't lean in. We don't share the honest truth. And honestly, this is what comes around to bite us later in the ass. It's like, I haven't been doing the bare minimum and no one told me. In fact, I didn't even tell myself. I didn't hold myself accountable.
Yeah.
And that's where it starts. It's like, yes, you can't blame anyone besides, yourself at the start. You've got to be able to like push yourself forward. You can't always expect other people to tell you how it is. That's not going to happen. But yeah, it's just a massive world problem, right? And I think it always starts with awareness. It always starts with like, where am I letting myself down first?
Yeah. And I was quite shocked when we were talking about this episode previously to what you mentioned, that people didn't like when you said the statement that the bare minimum was considered an achievement. And it really shocked me. So can you let us know sort of what prompted this episode? And we'll get into the first point. I just don't get how people could get upset.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. And just for context, I posted a reel, it was a couple of weeks ago now, and I'm paraphrasing, but it said, We live in a society. Actually, hold on. Can I find
Grab
it?
it up.
I've got my
Yeah.
phone here. What am I doing under the
Get
pressure?
it up. She's got her phone.
Get it
Sherelle
up.
loves making reels that are.
I don't mean
even
to
think they're
offend
controversial.
people.
That's
Yo,
the funny
I was gonna
thing.
say. Oh, put the audio on. We live in a world so sedentary that a 15-minute walk is now considered exercise.
Yeah. And
I didn't think I was
thought,
being
yep.
controversial. Can I? Yeah, I honestly,
Get some of
they're
the
the ones that
comments.
blow my mind. They're the ones that blow my mind where I'm like, I wasn't even being controversial. I was being honest. I was being honest. It's
Yeah.
like, I was being honest. It's like people
15
generally,
minutes is considered exercise in this day and age, where that is literally the bare minimum.
that's the warm-up.
God, that's you walking to the toilet and the fridge.
Yeah, literally.
Like,
yeah.
so
yeah.
what do people like?
Well, and I must say as well, like for the love of God, if you're going to leave a comment, please read the caption. Like I think people
no
need to
one
read
does.
captions. Can I read the caption though? Because it's very
Please
fitting.
take your time with this.
Thank
Enjoy
you.
it.
The average person in our society takes 3,000 to 4,000 steps per day. We are more sedentary than ever before, and it's only getting worse. All movement is good movement, and I'll always encourage everyone to move their bodies in whatever way possible. But if you're fit and able, we have to raise the bar for ourselves and for the next generation. Movement is medicine. Get the right dose.
Love it.
Very clear. I thought I
Perfect.
articulated myself well. but-
Context, you discluded anyone who was not able to not piss people off, yet they still come flying in apparently.
Right, yeah. And again, it's sort of like, so I was trying to, when these things happen, I'm like, I always question, I'm like, oh, I'm a little bit of a people pleaser at heart. I'm like, God,
Okay.
why did I offend someone? Is there something in this that was wrong? What's wrong with the message in this? And then I was like, oh, what triggers us is usually what insults us. So like if we are someone that takes 3,000 to 4,000 steps a day and you don't like that as a fact of it shouldn't be called exercise if you're just doing a walk around, a 10-minute walk around the block or a 15-minute walk around the block, those are the people that are going to be insulted. However, they're also the people that need to hear that message.
Yes.
Because again, this is the tough love and the hard conversations of would you rather like someone on social media share that content or would you rather be told 40 years later by your GP?
Yeah, that it's too late.
Yeah, that you need to do more, right? And we actually went away and we looked up the guidelines of exercise, right? Of like what classifies exercise, what classifies physical activity, and like obviously everything that we're going to share, it's like all factual, all valid, all has context, all super important to make sure it applies to everyone's own life as well. But like the bar of, I know I have to say that.
I'm just
don't I?
laughing at all the disclaimers.
Disclaimer.
You're doing great. It's sad that it has to be
I
said.
know, but it's an example of like how low is the bar in society where it's like
On the ground.
It's on the ground. It's so easy to like get above the standard because the bar is so low.
You just step over it.
Literally, it's like, oh, great, I'm doing 5,000 steps. I'm doing amazing.
Literally.
Amazing. It's like, what happened to our 10,000 step target? Like it got disproven. Now it's like back to 3 and it's apparently that's okay.
Well, that's what we found, isn't
Yeah, well,
it?
exactly. But with the guidelines that we actually did look up, I might read these out because they'll be
Yeah, because
it actually surprised me they were a little bit higher than what I initially thought. And then Danny's like, hang on, that's not much, Sherelle. Come on, raise your own standard.
yeah, you were impressed with it. Because
was
what
like,
are we?
oh,
What
wow.
we're talking about the daily step count worldwide.
Oh,
Or in the Western world, we found that the average step count is between 3,000 and 5,000.
yes,
That's
so low,
nothing.
so low. And look, steps have been like very linked to like mortality, right? Like our movement and how much we're moving our body. It's a direct correlation of the habits and the lifestyle that we lead. Now, of course, there's going to be people out there that are like, doing a lot of bike riding or whatever, and maybe it's like context dependent, but the majority of the world, we don't move enough as it is.
No.
Right? We simply don't. We've got very sedentary lifestyles. And heck, like I know that. I know
Yeah.
how like sore and like tired I feel, and like I make better food choices, worse food choices, sorry, when I'm not moving my body. And
It'll
I'm just-
taste better, but it'll be
taste
worse.
better, but like you just make worse decisions when
Yeah.
you're not moving your body, right? When you're sitting on the couch all the time. So yeah, I think we have to naturally like get comfortable with stretching ourselves to at least be in the ballpark of
Yeah.
what's physically required and recommended from a guideline perspective. And a lot of people harp down on like guidelines and, recommendations, but they're there for a reason, and you can damn be sure that they're backed off a lot of research.
Yeah, but it's like those that have fallen out of the habit, because you and I have both gone from jobs that were on our feet,
Yeah.
you working in the hospitals and me working on the gym floor, to then online work and you feel your body.
I'm way more exhausted than when I was shift working.
Digestion, mental health, everything changes. And so we can understand how sometimes your lifestyle pulls you into a poorer routine around that. But we're not even asking you to go to the gym every day and lift weights. We're literally saying you just need to get up and walk.
Yeah, move your body.
Move your body, because then that will just improve everything.
Yep.
So let's go through some of the stats, because it's pretty alarming.
Oh, yes.
Or the guidelines.
Let's start with the stats, I think.
Yeah.
So do you want to start with the first one?
Okay, so we didn't just put this to Australia. We sort of counted worldwide, and we understand that, there are different lifestyles and cultures everywhere. But we're mainly talking about sort of the Western world, because it's the Western world that needs the most help. So in the United States, we're basing this off recent times. 19.3% of children and adolescents between 2 and 19 years old were obese. So that's 14.7 million children and adolescents.
Wild. And that's 1 in 3 youth aged between 10 to 17 are obese or overweight. Like, that is nuts, right?
Yeah.
It is, and it's so sad too. Like, it's really sad. Obviously, lifestyles changed so much. Technology has completely evolved. Everything's become really efficient. Like, God, I'd hate to know how many steps I used to do just walking to school if I missed the bus, right? Whereas like, now things are just so different, and for good reason too. Like, there's a lot of, I guess, perks and benefits, and, it's probably not great to have to walk, that far to get to school if you miss the bus. Like, it's great that we've got Uber and public transport and other things around us as well, but it means that we have to evolve our lifestyle and also our habits and behaviors, like our nutrition. It has to take a big hit. We probably didn't have to worry as much, right, Danny, when we were younger, because we were just like outdoors all the time running around.
Yeah, and you just find a garden hose of your neighbours, have a quick drink and carry on. Pop down in the milk bar.
Jeez, filter everything these days.
That'll sustain you. Yeah, I know. It would taste like metal, but you wouldn't care because you're thirsty because you've been playing all day. And then moving into Europe, almost 30% of children between 7 to 9 years were overweight, and this has gone up 20% from in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
Even like looking at, obviously the US is such a, big percentage of the world, like it's such a big population, and how much like diet culture and everything sort of let us down. Like, it's not working. It's getting worse. Like, our understanding around food and exercise and our standards and expectations and how it all filters into lifestyle these days, it's not working. It's making us sicker. And that's why, the leading causes of death are very much like cardiovascular related, right? Heart disease, stroke, COPD, a lot of these things are very much related to being overweight and obese, and everything's generational too, right? It's like what happens to your parents usually gets passed on to you, and it's a lot of work to break generational cycles as well. So yeah, like these statistics and some of the things that we were looking into, it's really alarming, because when you think about it, like another 20, 30 years, it's like if we don't start raising the bar for ourselves and kids and people around us and family and friends and clients, it's like what we tolerate is what's going to become the normal.
Yeah, because I remember we learned all this in high school.
Yeah, it hasn't changed, but it's gotten worse.
That's what I mean. Like, these guidelines, because I haven't looked at them before today in very recent times, but then I remember back in, 2010, when you're even year 11 and 12, these guidelines are all the same. And then I fast forward to now, and society has changed so much. It is alarming. And look, lifestyles have changed. Most of us are working online and in offices and things. Everything's accessible.
Yeah.
And really, to be honest, I wouldn't want my kids walking to catch the bus. Things are getting a little bit more dangerous out there, or maybe I'm more cautious. I know that for a fact. I wouldn't be walking around at nighttime. No way in hell would I allow my kids to, catch the bus if they're walking like an hour on their own.
Is it worse, or do we just see more of it because of the news and social media?
Look, we definitely see more of it, therefore making it worse in our minds. But I'm sure that stuff happened back then. But even just comparing our childhood and what we mentioned before to just kicking a ball in the street, you know, there are more people around. More people have cars, so it's dangerous.
That's true.
More people are wandering the streets.
Yep.
Like, I just feel that it is worse in this day and age. But kids have phone these days. They can make a call if they're in trouble. You know, there are positives, but I suppose I'm just talking about this to highlight the reasons why society is changing and we're becoming unhealthy, and not to mention what they're putting in our foods. You know, you guys grew up on a farm eating really fresh organic foods and, you know, meats and everything else that you got to grow and harvest yourself. But it's even my ancestors in Greece, the Mediterranean diet, like you don't get that anymore. And I believe what they are putting in our foods is making us more sick, because as a society, people don't want us to be thriving and healthy. And I know that that's, you know, controversial and people think I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I just know it for a fact. If you were to compare even a loaf of bread from this day and age to back then, we're going to have way more chemicals and preservatives.
Yeah.
So everything that we're eating, for the most part, unless it is organic and everything, which is super expensive, you know, it's making us more sick.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying the episode. If you are, make sure that you take a screenshot, upload it to your socials, and don't forget to tag us. There's always like this pool of like, fuck, what can you do? Then like, what can you control? Because it's like,
Of course.
you know, it's like you've got to pick your poison at the end of the day. And that's why there's only like, there's certain things that we can all do to look after ourselves. Like there's certain things that it's like, great, we can't control everything, can't control the pesticides for the vast majority of it. Organic's expensive as fuck, right? And I'm not eating farm food anymore. It's like, what can I do, right? Like what can I actually do? I feel like the problem is actually in the things that we physically can do that's being dropped. You know, like there is X amount of things that as a society we know we should be doing, whether it's like, you know, getting 7-8 hours of sleep, or like moving your body every day, or going for a walk, or getting sunlight, or fucking drinking 2 liters of water. And these things are hard for people. And I understand, of course, everyone's got a different level of like privilege. We all have privilege. I'm privileged, you're privileged, we're all privileged. You're privileged if you're listening to this through your AirPods or whatever you're listening to. You know, so we all have like privilege that we need to know. But then I also think that a lot of us take for granted, the people that have privilege, we take for granted now the work we've put in to put yourself in those positions. It's like I don't go anywhere without a water bottle. Like I carry it with me now. I didn't always do that. Obviously, that would be weird. I didn't come out of the womb with a water bottle like there. So we also take a lot of these healthy habits for granted that we've built in over time. The same way that there's more healthy habits I haven't built in yet that I probably need to do. You know, there's things I could do better. And it's that fine line of like, well, don't go too far. But then also, what's the standard? What's the bar? And what should we be demanding of ourselves? And a really good, like, honest example is like, I have dropped the bar for myself more recently with movement. Like, work's been demanding and I've used that as an excuse for myself to not move my body as much as I should be. And I paid the price for it last week. I went to get up off the couch and I twinged something in my neck.
No.
And I was like, that's it. That is my body saying, you deserve this for like literally curling over like a prawn on the couch all week and then expecting you're going to get up and go do your session, you know? So I deserved that, you know? And sometimes we need those little reminders of like, no, there's X amount that you need to do to maintain function and movement and just vitality and health and energy. And once you cross the line, you'll know it, but remember that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like, okay, get yourself back up. Remember your morning movement, do the walks, do the stuff that makes you feel good, like get your cardio back in, like all these things that now are becoming non-negotiables but aren't quite habits yet. That's my new standard because as you said, like when I was nursing, like I had the opposite. I used to wear compression stockings because my feet would swell up from doing so many steps in a day, but that's not my reality anymore. And we all have these transitions in life, whether it's especially for women, like going through, you know, childbearing years or becoming a mum or going back to work, you know, after maternity leave. Like we have these big shifts in our lives and our habits and routines and standards and guidelines for ourselves, they essentially have to change with those. And we have to, it's uncomfortable when it's like, I would much rather just sit on the couch like a prawn because the less we move, Do you know that gif that that visual I'm talking about with this prawn sitting on the couch?
No, but I'm imagining it. Is it an actual prawn that you
it's
eat?
just like this prawn that's sitting on the couch, and it's like that's me in a position right now.
But that
curled
prawn's
over.
got a sore neck then.
Oh, Sherelle has a sore neck too.
Oh,
But yeah, again, like these aren't just things that I'm saying, oh, well, Sherelle and Danny don't have it figured out. You know, we do not have it figured out. We've still got our shit. Don't worry. We're still
Totally.
humans. But man, I give myself these hard talks as much as I give those that I love around me the hard
Yes.
talks, because I love them,
Yeah.
you know, and I care for them, and I don't want to ever see anyone like what I've seen people in hospitals. You know, it's shit. We need to look
No.
after ourselves, like, and we need to raise the standard, and that's why these conversations need to be had, and that's why they come from a place of love. It's like, you know, as a society, there's so much we can do and control. So we
Yeah.
have to like grab hold of it and make sure that we are treating these things, not just like walking on broken glass and hurting feelings. It's like, no. Lean in, have the uncomfortable conversations with yourself, with others, because it comes from a place of care.
Yeah, and just start with like one or two little changes that you can make. It's really not about a whole life overhaul. We're not all here to be Olympic athletes or, you know, bodybuilders. It's like we're here to reach the bare minimum that we keep saying and the guidelines to allow us to live a long, healthy life, or at least do our best shot to try and do that. Because if we just keep living like robots and falling to the standards of, you know, where we're ending up, we will not, like, it's going to be a grim future. And you've seen it in hospitals. I've been spending a lot of time in aged care for family stuff, and
It sucks, honestly.
like to see even my grandma not being able to stand up now without assistance, it's very eye-opening to the point where it's like you need to try and preserve, like she's 86, which is, it is what it is, but it's still not good. Like, thank yourself for being able to move and just put in that little bit of extra effort, even if it is an extra 15-minute walk. If you need to start at that 15 minutes, start there, but just aim to increase a little bit more, because it is so important. Because once that goes, your independence is gone, then it is downhill from there. So start with one or two key things and just don't make the excuses. But again, I'm not going to lie. Coming to Melbourne, I haven't been doing my morning walks. It's fucking freezing.
Oh.
Like, that is the last thing. But to swap that, I just went to the gym and went on the cross
that's right.
trainer
You
a little bit
substitute,
more.
you don't stop.
I had to substitute because I didn't want to let go of that morning routine because it makes me feel good.
Yep.
But that's just one that I picked, and there's not a right or wrong, but at least pick something, because you can find a piece of information or an article that's going to say doing this is bad.
Yeah.
But like, I walk to get a coffee. Now, some people will argue that coffee in your stomach first thing in the morning is not good, but the thought of having a nice coffee gets me walking. So I'm going to do that, you know? So it's important to mix and match kind of your little habits with the overall intention of just moving more and being mindful. You and I love chocolate. We still eat things like that. We eat sugar in
I had a brownie
moderation.
this morning.
You what?
I had a brownie this morning.
Already?
Yep.
Great. Start off the day with a brownie. Good on you. No wonder you're so happy in the morning. That's great. Like, and it's just about not being quote unquote perfect.
Yep.
Just putting it into your routine without going overboard. I think, because it can be overwhelming to overhaul.
The more
or
you
try
know,
and
the more you're like, great, I just give up.
everything's wrong. You've got
Can't have bread. I can't have
honestly,
water. I'm just starved.
literally, like,
can
but
feel like
again,
that.
I've got a plastic water bottle next to me, and we've been
Yeah.
on the podcast saying that's not good, but like, you know, even though there's a fresh glass there, but I can't reach and grab it. So
not convenient.
convenience.
Yep.
You know, you got to just pick your battles.
That's right. And look, the devil's always in the dose. It's
Yes.
like, you know, it's like if you do this the majority of the time and that, the minority, like that's okay. Do you know what I mean? And everyone's at different like stages of their health and fitness too. It's like if you're just trying to drink enough water, please don't worry too much about whether it's from plastic or a tap. Like just get your water in,
Get
you
it
know,
in.
and then focus on it. And I think that's important because like let's not tell people, oh, like, you know, focus on the angle of your shoulder press or the quality of your training
that kills
intensity
me.
when they're not even fucking going to the gym. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like, please don't do that to people. Like
I know.
quantity, then quality.
Yeah.
Like you've got to get moving and then worry about what it looks like essentially, right? You'll figure it out along the way, but don't worry about something if you're not even getting started yet. Like otherwise you're just going to get, you know, paralysis by analysis and not do anything. But you raised a really good point there because I honestly think everyone in their 20s and 30s should spend a day in an aged care facility.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Have a look around and just get familiar with the majority of the world.
Yep.
And, you know, not just our aged care, I don't even know what to call it, like epidemic, our like the
epidemic.
reality of our aged care. But what happens when we lose our ability to be active and mobile? Like we take our bodies for granted so much. And honestly, like I just think that like 20s and 30s, you need to just go volunteer for a day. You know, like they freaking love it when the young kids come in. 20, yes, 30s is young. When the kids come in and they just get to speak and socialize, and you know, you learn so much about like what we should be doing, what we shouldn't be doing, like routines, socializing, mental health.
Yes.
Like everyone in there's on an antidepressant, you know, and it's just like you need 3 people to get up out of bed in the morning, and it's actually heartbreaking to see. But I think it makes you appreciate so much of I get to move my body, I don't have to, you know. And it's like, and why would you call 15 minutes an exercise? Right? 15 minutes is not exercise. It's like, yeah, I just think perspective's so important. But then, you know, we have to also keep the standard there for ourselves. And we have non-negotiables, right? And I'd love to hear what some of yours are, because it sounds like you've got some pretty big rocks as well of like what's important to you, and you know what to do, and like if I can't do that, then I'll do that. And I also think that's a privilege. It takes a lot of work to be able to build that as a skill of like, okay, well, it's not as simple as just drinking 2 liters of water. There's a lot of work that's gone into like setting up your environment and habit stacking and having the education and the understanding, which we all need to do. But curious to hear from you, like, are there big non-negotiables that you see as like a standard, and when they drop down, like that you're like, okay, come on, Danny, bring it back up?
Yeah, no, thank you. Definitely walking. And I noticed that, as I mentioned, from moving from being on the gym floor to then online, because my body was aching. Knee pain, back pain, shoulder pain.
Everything
pain. Everything pain. This is when I was riding a lot. It was so ironic. When I was riding a lot of the United Health courses, I was in agony. It's so pain relief courses. Oh my God.
Yeah, honestly,
I'm
online
like,
fitness
I'm
coaches,
not
we're
opposed to go. Literally, because you are just so sore sitting down. So I need that walk, and I don't like the feeling of waking up and my phone's going off and straight away I'm everyone's slave. Like I just want to have that time, get my coffee, come back. If I can't do that, cross trainer in the gym or treadmill. Even when I hurt my foot, you know, I couldn't really walk for a while, but I just found out a way to use a cross trainer that was a little bit odd, but I still wasn't weight bearing, but I still needed to move.
With your foot,
Yeah, so that one. I don't drink soft drinks. I don't drink sugary.
Not even your sugar-free Coke?
No, sugary soft drinks. So I swapped that with a sugar-free Coke. Now people will argue all the stuff about sugar-free, but I would rather just a little bit of sugar-free than the whole thing. And I don't drink energy drinks or pre-workouts or anything like that. That's just me. Some people can. If that's going to actually get you to the gym, having a pre-workout, go to town. But these are all things that I've taken too far in the past.
Yeah.
So I just dialed it back. Because I was able to have one of those Bang energy drinks at 8 p.m, train, and sleep like a rock.
Really? Yeah.
It was a problem.
Yeah.
So I pulled that back. And then if we're just talking about physical activity type things.
Yeah, just the big rocks.
I mean, going to the gym, obviously weight bearing activity and movement and everything. It doesn't have to be a PB every week. I don't really care about that. I'm not training to be a power lifter. But it just has to be enough to make me work and to balance out any imbalances and things like that. And then just having downtime mentally.
Yeah.
You know, that's all good and well, but if you're stressed, there's no point. So just allowing the voice in my head to say, do more. I say, no, you're doing enough. It's okay just to have a little bit of downtime today, and it might be on a weekend or catch up with a friend or call someone. You know, that's really important as well. So it's those 4 elements. I could say more, but I'll just call it a top 4 that really I hone in on for that.
Yeah, nice. You call 4. We'll
call
label
4.
It. Call 4.
Brilliant.
We all need a call 4. But
What's
these are like
call
your
4?
non-negotiables, right? Like your big rocks. It's like, you know, regardless of where I am, you know, whether you're in Sydney or whether you're in Melbourne or whether you're in bloody Thailand, like it doesn't matter. You're still going to have your core 4, like just these things.
Love that.
Love it. White label that, core 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, when I think about the top one for me would honestly be sleep. Like I'm
Oh,
a
yeah, I didn't even
mess
think of that.
if I
Oh.
don't. But some people are fine. Some people are like, nah, look, I can, I'm not. I think it's the shift worker in me has just
Yeah.
like, like I just know the difference so well, and I'm so hyper aware of sleep hygiene and how I feel based on that. So I can definitely function without it, but like in terms of optimal, I know I need my 7 to 8 hours, and I have no issues sleeping. Like I'm out like a light.
Yeah.
It's more when I drop some of the other things, if that impacts. Like if I'm really stressed, I might struggle to fall asleep, or like if my sleep hygiene or bedtime slips out a little bit, then I miss that window and I can't get to sleep. So it's usually a outcome. Like not getting my sleep is an outcome of other things dropping away, but definitely my 7 to 8 hours sleep. If I have 7 to 8 hours of sleep, I can conquer the world.
Yeah.
Like I'm fine. Nothing else could hit me.
Yeah.
The other thing for me would just be regular meal times. I would say, like if I'm skipping meals, again, it's usually an outcome of something else like organization or whatnot. But if I can have my regular meals, then I'm more likely to eat like vegetables and fruit and proteins and things that set me up. So I'd say like at least 3 main meals a day. I'm not much of a snacker, but I'll
Okay.
have like big meals most of the time. Big breakfast, big lunch, big dinner. What else? One day a week I have sort of offline. I try and have like a Sunday where I'm like, no one access me. I'm available, but I'm not accessible, right? Like you can message me, I will choose to reply or not. I try and do that to myself one day a week because I just feel like I've got notifications everywhere. You probably feel the same, where I feel like sometimes when people can access you too easily, it's like a little bit too much for me. So I need to have like that one day a week where I'm like completely offline. And then my new one specific to like the steps, I would say, is like now I'm back into like actually tracking my steps as more of like or my movement and exercise as like a more of like I don't want to say accountability, but awareness, because I never needed it really in the past. Whereas now I know that I need awareness of what I'm actually doing to rebuild that, which I've been doing for a while now, but at least 7,000 steps a day. And it's also a big reason why I took up running, is because I can get away with more movement. Whereas in the past, if I did running on top of shift work and bodybuilding, I would
forget
die.
it.
Do you know what I mean? I'd be like system overload.
Yeah.
Whereas now I almost feel like my body was at a place where it was under stressed.
Okay.
You know when you don't feel like you're actually physically stressed enough, you mentally there's too much.
Yep.
Whereas like when I run, it's the one time where it shuts off.
Amazing.
Whereas at the gym, I overthink. I don't know if you do the same, but like I think a lot at the gym and I come up with ideas and I write things down and I'm like,
It's stimulating.
it's
very
stimulating. Whereas I find cardio like numbs me a little bit, which is really good. So yeah, those sort of things combined together. But as you can hear, like I do feel like we have to get into this routine where it's okay for these things to shift and change.
Yeah.
We just need to know like why, and then what our minimum effective dose is. And like on my worst week, I will get to the gym 3 days. Unless I'm obviously physically unable and sick. But like on my worst week, I will always get to the gym 3 days and I'll do 7,000 steps. And that's like my non-negotiable. And I think we all need something like that, even if the bar's starting low with the intention of raising it.
Yes.
It's like, don't make it so low that it's like 3,000 steps. Like, come on, we need to push it up a little bit there. But make it like high enough that you're actually going to get some physical benefits and some mental benefits from it too.
Yeah, it's all relative, isn't it? Because we kind of started off by saying that the bar is too low, but we want to make it clear that some days and weeks you will have to lower the bar. Celebrate that and reward that. That's fine, but then bring it back up again to your relative sort of challenge. And all of the things that we listen, I can't believe I forgot sleep, probably because it's not been a problem. Because I've been having awesome sleep, particularly if Paul's sick, I go in the other room and I have the best fucking sleep.
Oh, a lot of people do that. They sleep
We've got
in
a
separate
spare bed
Love
and
it.
I utilize it when I need to. And at the start it was a bit odd because he's like, oh, you don't love me and all that. And it goes against society. But
No,
but
there's
if
some
he has
cultures
the
that do
flu
it.
or something, like he gets it. Oh, I'm going to be up coughing, turning, uncomfortable all night. Go in the spare room and I go, see you later, I'm already in there, mate. All my stuff's in there.
More common than what you think.
People just don't talk about it.
More common than what you think. I know quite a few people that do it. I know quite a few people.
It's the best way to get a good
It
sleep.
is, honestly, 100%. I'm like you know how our female body temperatures are so like, Luke's like,
wear a
fuck, you're cooking
furnace.
today. And then he's like, I'm like, I'm cold.
Guys
Good
get cold at night.
Yeah.
Girls get warm.
Yep. I honestly, there's nothing wrong with it. I think that whatever you need to do to like these things are just like ways we need to set up our environment. Like,
Yes.
I just don't think we should be stigmatizing anything about what
No.
you eat, how you exercise, how you want to sleep, like whatever you need to do to make sure that you can do those non-negotiables. Like that's just what you need to do.
Yeah, yeah. So it's always a work in progress, and you'll have to make compromise and sacrifices, but who cares? It's your life.
Yep.
Have your own routine. Don't copy everyone. You can get ideas and we give guidelines and things, but at the end of the day, your life is so specific. Only you can be in charge of that and work in how to put all the puzzle pieces together.
Yep, absolutely. Now, the one thing I do want to finish things up on is we actually did a little bit of research into the guidelines from the Australian government of just what physical exercise and exercise was, because one thing that I was thinking is there is a difference between exercise and physical activity. Like physical activity is using your muscles to move your body essentially, whereas exercise is intentionally doing some form of activity to exert yourself physically. And in my opinion, it's actually to improve your health and fitness in some way, to create some sort of adaptation, right? Like you walk into the fridge, you're not doing any adaptation really, right? But you may be going for a light jog or doing a Stairmaster, like you're actually imposing some physical effort and demand on your body that's making your heart stronger in that context. So that's my definition, but then also opinion as well.
Yeah.
And then the Australian government guidelines, 2.5 to 5 hours of moderate activity, right? As well as 1.25 to 2.5 of vigorous intensity physical activity and 2 weight sessions. That is the weekly guideline from the Australian government. So again, like about 2 to 5 hours of moderate activity. So this can be like your gardening, your brisk walking, swimming, etc. Or I would say zone 2 for those that don't have that context, your zone 2 cardio. And then your vigorous, intense physical activity. So this could be like your running or sports. I would probably also, I don't know whether you'd put weight training into this. It probably like,
I hope so, because then because I'm not doing any vigorous.
yeah, that's what I think. I think
no,
that
strength session.
Strength session. Let's add that in. Come on, government. Strength.
It has
sessions.
to be, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's pretty
vigorous
good.
as.
And then at least two strength training sessions in there as a part of that, right?
Yeah.
Now, I said to Danny, I was like, it sounds like a lot. But again, that's the bar, right? That is the Australian government's guidelines of what we should be doing to stay healthy. Now, the world's definition of health is free from disease. I hope that we have higher standards of ourselves than being free from disease.
Yeah.
Right? We want to be thriving, we want to be healthy, we want to be fit. And again, like, you know, take it or leave it, but these are just the stats, these are just the facts. And a full transparency, there's going to be times where I absolutely don't meet these recommendations. As you said, there's a lot of people that probably don't have vigorous intensity physical activity. And take it or leave it, again, some people might even have work that falls into this. So if you're a tradie, of course, like that's probably going to fall into that as well. So, you know, take it or leave it. But I just think in such a sedentary world these days, it is important to understand how we make these things fit into our lifestyle without having a part-time job of exercise, because that's not the reality for majority of people as well.
Yeah, no, and people who do work in the fitness industry still let this go, probably even more so, because they're even more sick of being in the gym.
Yeah.
They're writing everyone else's program so they forget about their own.
Yes.
You know, it is an epidemic, but those guidelines are nothing. If you add up the minimum bracket, so the 2.5 and the 1.25, that's 3.75 hours in a whole week. That is nothing. Let's just say we're awake for 12 hours in one day. Out of what, 80 something hours in the week, only 4 hours.
Yep.
Which is still sad, but like that's the bare minimum that people aren't reaching. So.
Yeah, it's so true. Like when you look at the minimums there, like as I said, like it's the minimum. It's like the minimum of what we should be doing. But I even like it's such a broad thing, and even for like a lot of the coaches and, as you said, personal trainers and fitness professionals that are listening to this, I also think this seeps into a little bit of how we treat clients though as well, because a lot of clients are quite sedentary. A lot of clients that come to you maybe struggle with their health and fitness, and maybe they're probably doing well below the minimum or, you know, no standard at all coming to you if they're struggling. But then often we just say, oh, and of course we want to get people started, but we just say just 3 weightlifting sessions. Like I don't care if you're only doing 2,000 steps, that's okay. Like we sometimes we set the bar so low for people that there's nothing to rise up to.
Yeah.
And I think like if you've got a client that's really sedentary, that does struggle to lose weight or maintain it in particular, and you know, they're just not moving their body as well, and like office job, etc. Like maybe you should be assigning some cardio to them. You know, and maybe you should be just focusing on getting them to move more rather than just going to the gym, push, pull, press. Like, of course that's great. But like sometimes we have to come back to like the individual, the person, and be human led rather than just like treating us like ourselves. Because as we've said, we just have different lifestyles, different routines, different non-negotiables and different standards that we shouldn't just translate to everyone else. But we also have to make sure that we're stretching the bar and understanding like what their low-hanging fruit is to make sure that they can, you know, adopt some of those behaviors too.
Yeah, and make it enjoyable and achievable at the start. Otherwise, they will just not
Drop
do
off,
it.
yeah.
Like even with my office workers, if they have shoulder pain or anything like that, a lot of the exercises I give them to do in their office chair. They don't even have to get out of the chair.
No excuse.
No excuse, you
Yep.
know, and just 3. I pick the top 3 in their chair, or even some to do in bed before they even get out of bed, like for neck mobility or even hip stuff. Like you just really dial it back to what their low-hanging fruit is, and then you build up. You make it clear that, hey, this is the bare minimum.
Yeah, totally.
We're going to move up from this, but there's no excuse. And that's what I say. I go, look, you don't even have to get off your chair. There's no excuse.
Yep.
Yeah, so... Oh dear.
I'd be scared of Danny as a coach too. I'd fucking do what he
I'm
said.
nice. But I say
If
everything.
Danny says there's no excuse, there is absolutely no
It's
excuse.
out of love.
It is out of love.
And they realize that it works. So they know, you know, you have to, and you're the same. We can't just hand out a plan
No.
and say this. Like they're convinced that it works. They go, oh shit, I actually need to do this.
Yep.
But like, it's out of love, guys. We hate seeing people in pain, or we hate seeing people not happy with themselves. That hurts our hearts. So that's why we do put guidelines on people and certain boxes for them to tick, you know, to feel better about themselves and have a better life. So it's always out of love what we do.
Yep. Clear as kind. Clear as kind. I tell myself that when we don't want to give honest feedback, but clear as kind. And sometimes we have to, you know, we have to make sure that we are clear and direct and honest and open and willing to say what others won't, because, you know, it's not just about keeping feelings, it's also about like physical health and well-being and the future of yourself, right? The vision for yourself. Like if you want what you say you want, there's a cost to everything. And sometimes that's an uncomfortable conversation, and sometimes that's physically literally just like doing more and getting out of your own way. Because often we do make these little excuses for ourselves. And I don't like the word excuses, but sometimes it's relevant because we have to catch ourselves of like when we are like trying to seek comfort, because naturally humans are lazy. Like we are incredibly lazy. We're always trying to find an efficient, easier, quicker way. Where it's in our DNA to do that. But we also have to know when it comes to our health and fitness, we actually get the benefits from doing things that are hard. Physically, but also mentally, right? That's how we create adaptation, and that's how we build resilience and work ethic, is by doing something that's hard. Now, hard and stretchy is going to be different for everyone. And that's what we've said. It's going to be different for everyone. But there's still a standard, in my opinion. And we've given some guidelines there as well. So hopefully you can take it or leave it with those. But knowing what your standard is, and also having that push and pull mentality of like, I can pull back, but I know it's a pullback. This is not my new standard.
No.
This is me pulling back and just having a bit of a rest, or like me, you bung your neck. So I'm like, damn it, I can't sprint today.
Bloody prawn.
You know, you've got to have that push and pull and be practical. Like you've got to be logical. You're not going to go out and injure yourself. But, you know, knowing that that's a pullback, not the new standard, that you demand more of yourself, that's what's going to help you thrive.
Beautiful. Nailed it. That's it.
Great.
Do they want to reshare our podcast or anything like that?
Oh, if you liked it, if you did like today's episode, make sure that you do share it with someone who maybe needs the tough love, even by you putting a little bit of a reshare on your story with a link, of course, and just telling anyone that needs the tough love as much as maybe you needed it. Know that you're actually going to be helping someone.
Thanks, everyone. If you're enjoying the podcast, please leave us a 5-star review and hit follow so you can stay up to date with our podcast every week.